It's the POCO M3 versus the 64 megapixel champs. Who's coming out on top? Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech, and I'm here to share my camera comparison between the POCO M3, the Mi 10T Lite, and the Realme X7 Pro. Now when I thought about which phones I wanted to use in this camera comparison versus the M3, I wanted to see how does this 48 megapixel sensor stack up to these two other sensors that we've seen on so many phones this year. This is the IMX682 on the Mi 10T Lite. It's almost the exact same camera setup as we see on the POCO X3 NFC and has been used in many other Xiaomi phones this year. Meanwhile, on the Realme X7 Pro, we have a 64 megapixel IMX686 main camera, which has been used in a number of other phones as well, including the POCO F2 Pro, the Mi Note 10 Lite, and many more. Now, given the lack of ultra-wide capability on the POCO M3, a lot of this camera comparison is going to be using the primary sensors and obviously the front cameras of these phones. But considering the price of this POCO M3, is it going to be able to hang with these higher megapixel and higher quality sensors in these phones? And how's the video capability going to manage on this POCO M3 versus the 4K capabilities of both the Mi 10T Lite and the Realme X7 Pro? Let's not waste any time and have a look at these samples both day and night, and let's talk about them when we get back. This is rear-facing video on the POCO M3, the Mi 10T Lite, and the Realme X7 Pro. Shooting in full HD on the POCO M3, but not, well, I guess 4K on the other phones. Gorgeous day here in Hong Kong. Perfect morning for a quick morning camera comparison. But listen to the mics, hear how they sound. And hit me up in the comments, what do you think? And this is front-facing video on the POCO M3, the Mi 10T Lite, and the Realme X7 Pro. Shooting in full HD on all these phones. And a very beautiful day here in Hong Kong. And pretty good exposure from these phones overall. Hope you guys are doing well this beautiful Sunday. But listen to the mics, hear how they sound, and hit me up in the comments, what do you think? So what'd you guys think? Did the POCO M3 hang in there? Did the Mi 10T Lite prevail? Or did the Realme X7 hold its own? Let's start with the POCO M3. So in the day, a number of the shots from this phone, I think, hung in there with the higher end camera phones. And there was good brightness and even dynamic range on some of the POCO M3 shots. But generally speaking, if you nitpick the photos, you would see that the level of detail on this phone did drop off from these two. Specifically in those zoom shots, I think the POCO M3 just couldn't hang in there. And at night, it only got harder for this phone as the grain that I've complained about with this sensor creeped in, and you especially noticed it on really low light shots. I think night mode can help this camera in dark conditions a little bit, but there are limits to how far that will actually go in the case of this POCO M3. Now between the Mi 10T Lite and the Realme X7 Pro, it was a much closer battle. And in the daytime, the Mi 10T Lite produced the brightest and I think kind of most appealing shots, despite the fact that the Realme X7 Pro had the crisper, more detailed shots. But at nighttime, the tables were turned, and I think the Realme X7 Pro capturing some really sharp nighttime images that just surpassed what the Mi 10T Lite was able to offer. And in video, the POCO M3 actually did a solid job. I really was impressed. But unfortunately, this being a budget phone, you are limited to full HD shooting, and you will just get a sharper and better video out of either of these two phones. In the end, if I had to give it to one phone, I'm giving it to the Realme X7 Pro. It just delivered the better consistent shots across the board, but considering the price difference here, the Mi 10T Lite did a solid job and it actually hung in there and even surpassed the Realme X7 Pro on a number of shots. And in the end, the camera on the POCO M3 definitely isn't the reason why you'll be getting this phone, and yet despite that, it is still capable of some quality shots if you have the right lighting and use that night mode. But hit me up in the comments. Which phone do you think did best? And do you think the POCO M3 hung in there with these phones? Hit me up in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. Thanks for watching all of my POCO M3 coverage. It's taken a while to create all these videos, so I do hope you've enjoyed them. And stay tuned for more great POCO M3 content coming to Frankie Tech very soon. So that's it, and this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech, signing off. Have a good one.